The frightening security situation across Nigeria topped the agenda at the National Assembly on Wednesday, with the lawmakers expressing shock over twin suicide bombing attacks that took place in Gwoza town, Borno State, on Saturday, 29 June 2024. The lawmakers blamed the attack on the failure of intelligence on the part of security forces. They reiterated that the recent loss of lives recorded in Borno was worrisome. Senator Ali Ndume, representing Borno South, commended the efforts of the military in the region over the drastically reduced cases of terrorism in the state. He, however, called on them to double their efforts and make territory activities a thing of the past.
This time around, the Nigerian Army and other security forces responded promptly and gallantly. In fact, one soldier lost his life and a civilian JTF when they confronted the fifth suicide bomber that detonated the bomb and killed the three of them there. One was a soldier. And mostly, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, that soldier that sacrificed his life was from the south. It is I have to mention this because that is the greatest sacrifice one can make. And in fact, that was what led to getting that incident immediately to an end, because they succeeded in arresting one of the last suicide bomber. She's now under interrogation. I must mention here again that these people are already, indoctrinated. All of them their hairs were braided, and they had this melee, and they are confident that they are going to heaven if they detonate and kill the people. In fact, the last woman that was arrested, up to now, the interrogation has not brought out so much because she's still insisting that she wants to go to heaven, and that is by killing people and detonating the bomb.
The lawmakers called on the federal government to task the security chiefs to rethink their conventional methods in fighting insurgency and other crimes by deploying modern technology and scientific tactics.
In honor of the innocent Nigerians that were killed by these incredible acts of embarrassment caused in Borno. As a matter of fact, Mr. President, just recalling Thomas Hobbes here, is looking day and day that life of man is short, brutal, and terribly embarrassing if the Leviathan refuse to respond to the insecurity going on day by day, particularly in Nigeria, and this can be very, very dangerous. Living with insecurity is gradually becoming the only way to understand security. And we cannot allow this trend to continue because of the danger that is portrayed. I don't want to take much of your time, but I will say clearly, it costs nothing for the intelligent army to get devices in their phone to know where these notorious criminals live. As Mr. President,
if we have been talking about insecurity, government out, government in, week out, week in, month in, month out, year in, year out, and we are still confronted with the menace of frequent attacks on our communities and the killing of vulnerable, defenseless civilians, then, Mr. President, we want to ask ourselves the salient questions and then appeal to government to take the bull by the horn and be the government that will solve the problem of insecurity in Nigeria. Mr. President, I don't want to believe that our military that have been drafted into this war will not know what to do. Be it a symmetric war or a conventional war, they are all mere semantics. The fact is that it's a war. And soldiers are trained to fight wars, whether it is asymmetric or conventional. And I don't want to think that appealing to the soldiers to deploy technology is the answer to the question, because they are trained to identify wars and to deploy appropriate mechanisms to solving the problems of war. And so, Mr. President, I think we want to challenge the Nigerian military We cannot continue talking about insecurity, particularly the Northeast, particularly Gwoza, like I said, that has had a receiving end of this insurgency. So let's think that for once, we make a very passionate appeal to this government. Let this government be the government that will end insecurity in Nigeria.
One question we should ask ourselves as a parliament, is there anything that is worthy of significant investments by the Nigerian government today, other than the security of the people of Nigeria? Is there? There isn't, is the question. Because any other thing that we wish for ourselves, that we hope and pray for our country, revolves around the security of the people and their property. I will therefore urge us and the executive arm of government to prioritize how we invest.
To say that we can deploy soldiers, we can deploy technology, we can do all these things, but if we cannot train the mind, these things will continue to happen. Suicide bombing can only be perpetrated by a mind that is not developed. The government should do the right thing. If we invest on education, the governor should take education as a priority, so that no matter how difficult it is to impact education on our young people, they should go all the hog to ensure that education is provided to our young people coming up, so that this thing can be turned from having minds that are liberated through superstition, because nobody can believe this. But when you kill another person, you go to see God.
Various parts of Nigeria, from east to west, have their reasons for doing what they are doing. Mr. President, I think time has come for us to begin to address the fundamental reasons why people are disgruntled, why people are unhappy, why people are willing to kill themselves. You can just imagine a lady who is probably a mother with children deciding to end her own life. What will make a woman to do that? We should talk less now about the military and arming the military. We've been doing that for years, and it has not changed anything. What we must do at this point is to convene this Senate, this National Assembly must convene some conference.
Former Governor of Edo State, Senator Adams Oshomole, accused former service chiefs of diverting of funds meant for fighting insecurity.
Previous service chiefs diverted money to build universities in their various communities. Those are the kind of resources that should have been used to procure modern technology. And to think that money was being diverted to non-essentials. And as we speak, those institutions are not teaching anything about security. They are just another glorified university. I think that this House, having the power to appropriate, we should focus strictly on the items that the Army and the Air Force and other security agencies are going to spend the money to do. Otherwise, everybody knows we need modern technology. This House, under your leadership, we have provided supplementary appropriation to the armed forces. Throwing money at a problem will solve it. We must assist them to redirect their procurement policies to focus on this technology. Otherwise, we can decline to approve appropriation if the details are not such that those managing the system will use the money strictly in a manner that we do justice to our collective feeling about redirecting and moving more and more towards technology. This is my additional prayer, Mr. President. It can be worded more elegantly, but I just believe that we need to tie the hands of the procurement people to procure more and spread more in those areas that the armed forces competence will be better enhanced.
Senate President Godswill Akpabio expressed condolences to the victims, government, and the people of Borno State over the tragic incident in Gwoza.
At least we have brought up something very serious here, that we should also employ a lot of technology. The technology don't need to be physically there. We can monitor from miles away to know when there is likely going to be an infraction in security. And also, what happened there could also be described as failure of intelligence. Because we have so many suicide bombers gathering together, it means we've not penetrated their camps. Otherwise, we would have known that they were going to strike. So preventive security must also be emphasized.